General David Sejusa was early this week released from the army alongside 17 other senior army officers. Yet his protracted struggle to live, which spanned decades, underpinned the institutional flaws of the UPDF. Many of those who are set to retire are part of the old guard that fought in the 5-year bush struggle. On the spotlight is a panel of 3, including the former Director General of External Security Organization, David Pulkol, Kira Municipality MP, Semuju Ibrahim Nganda, and former Iyala MP, Lydia Wanyoto. Honorable Ibrahim Semuju Nganda, thank you very much for making it on time. Some of our colleagues, the Honorable Lydia Wanyoto and David Pulkol, will be joining us much later. And we know you when it comes to respecting time. Most of Ugandans sometimes, by the way, they joke that East African Standard Time, they call it East Africa's stretchable time. But you don't always stretch it.
Told me the only resource that God has given in equal measure is time. A day in America is 24 hours, so is a day in Uganda.
So what could have prompted the army to release, or suggest, to promise to release General Sejusa, who had sought to contest his continued stay in the army? Do you think there was a deal that was cut to buy his silence after he warned that there were a group of people who were being targeted for being against what he called the Muhoozi project?
I think the president, who still, in my own view, micromanages the army, had difficulties in managing Tinyefuza as a person. General David Sejusa is one, I think there are about 11 members of the historical high command. The historical high command, for purposes of young people who are just watching us, at the time of taking over power in 1986, they were the members of the high command. I think a few of them remained. Rwejema died, Chefari died, the others include the Matayo Charigonza, Eritumwine, Salim Sare, Genome 7. So just a handful of them. But they are also inscribed within the UPDF Act. If you read the schedules to the UPDF Act, it has, I think, Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, members of the historical high command. They are permanently members of the UPDF high command, because it's one category that sits on the high command, and the Sejusa is there. So it becomes very difficult for you to deal with a man whose name you have even put in the law as a permanent signature on the UPDF, that you will now want to go and punish him. Yet, Mr. Museveni was offended by his utterances and his conduct. So they wanted to deal with him, but dealing with him will send very, very, very negative messages to those with whom, first of all, you've said these guys, the army is built around them. So, and that's why even Tumwines had difficulties. So eventually, I think my own view is that they may have taken a decision that instead of rolling Sejusa in the mud, let's put him under house arrest, because I still think Sejusa is under house arrest, and then at an appropriate time, disengage him from the military. I don't know what they will do, because even when Sejusa leaves the military, he remains a permanent member of the UPDF High Command until death. Him, Museveni, Sale, Charigonza, I don't know who else remains, because at least the others are died. The same way Major General Mugisha Muntu and others, Kashiring, who are members of the Pecos Kutesas, who are members of the Historical Army Council. So by the virtue of them being part of a group that seized the government, seized power in 1986, they are permanent members. In fact, one time I joked, I said they are like Utoda, because Utoda had the members who are permanent directors. And we argued, but they won. So you deal with someone who is permanently a director of the UPDF. He's a member of the Historical High Command. Therefore, by virtue of him being a member of Historical High Command, he's still a member. Now just imagine if all those guys were attending meetings, Kategaya was also a member of the Historical High Command. So I think they don't know how to deal with him. So the best way is try to be civil when you are dealing with a person that you are elevated to that level.
We've been joined by Mr. David Pulkol, former Director General of External security organization, ESO. You know, you understand the things of military and security perhaps more deeply. But there was a time when General David Sejusa said that the army to him looked like the UPDF, like an institution was holding them captive, especially for those who had indicated that their willingness to leave and they had some political ambitions, they could not let them go. Could that have been the case? Is that the case that some individuals with some political ambitions, the army cannot let them go, they hold them captive for as long as they want?
I think while we commend the UPDF senior command for finally allowing some of those who have reached the retirement age or those who wish to go to leave the military finally seeming to have been allowed to go, because then even then it's not immediate. It is effective from July next year. Then why announce now? What kind of point are they making now? But it's commendable nonetheless to say yes. But then I'm saying that it helps them to change the image of the army, particularly of this UPDF. There are a number of things that UPDF senior command needs to deal with for this army to be given the semblance of professional army, to join the ranks of other armies in the world, and therefore streamline its systems and stop holding those who want to retire against their will. I can remember an officer in Parliament, Colonel Bogere, who in his view, who knows what a military in a democracy is. A military in a democracy stands equal distance from the opposition, from the ruling party. And therefore, when it came to a controversial issue like term limits, and did not want to vote for any side, and therefore the army must stand equal distance. Now, when you see such officers being victimized, and today is still a colonel, and today is on Katebe, today is not in the list of those who are being let to go. So while we commend the military for allowing those who don't want to stay or who have reached the age to retire honorably, but there is still this animal called Katebe, which must be defined. And where does it exist in the UPDF Act? And what does it mean to continue holding some officers against their will? What kind of army is that?
I understand.
Doesn't it endanger the institution to have people within its ranks who think they have reached the maximum of their contribution, and they would like to use their energies, their intellect, their talent to serve the country in other capacities? And why would you want to keep them hostage in the first place? Because that's your question.
Yes.
Was that the case? And I'm saying yes, but I'm also saying it is still the case. Okay? Much as this move allows this to move, but it looks like cherry picking. Are there no others? So what is the policy of retirement in UPDF? In other armies, like for example, there is a particular age you must become a captain or a major or a colonel. And if whichever comes first, if the rank comes first, well and good, you advance. If the rank doesn't come and the age comes first, you reach that age before, you definitely have to leave, because you cannot serve as a major at 50 years old. A major and a colonel, these are field command posts. And therefore, it is very important for our army to streamline, even in this retirement they are announcing. I think they need to come out with a clear policy, okay, like it is in other armies. Then there was this other question that now, if you go to UPDF Act, that Schedule 5, I think, or you mentioned 2, there's a particular schedule in the UPDF Act where names of individuals are part of the law. Nowhere else in the whole world do you find that names of individuals could be positions, but names of individuals are part of the law, that because they are historical command and therefore they are till Jesus comes back or till the end of time. Which means their position needs to be defined.
David, talking about...
Are they shareholders?
Let me take you back to the issue of...
Are they directors?
The issue of holding some people, you know, a hostage.
Because even those ones are being held hostage, those who are in the law. Because they are being kept now...
On the Army Council and the Historical High Command.
Paka milele. And I'm saying, why? And because then, if this is truly a national thing, then why do you put individuals there, like President Museveni, like Saleh, like Eli Tumine, like they are there in the law. And then you ask yourself, supposing Besigye won election, who is he going to meet in High Command as a commander-in-chief? President Museveni, who also contests in the same election? It is problematic. And therefore, it has to be dealt with. And which parliament makes such a law? It makes a mockery of our parliaments. Because why do you allow such... It defeats all rules of legislation. You ask yourself, is this part of... Is Uganda Parliament part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association? Is it part of Interparliamentary Union? I mean, when you have laws like this, parliamentary laws like this passed, and they are upheld, which are holding others against their will. So I'm saying that citizens should welcome this move, and I'm saying that senior command needs to go further. They shouldn't stop here. Okay, please streamline.
I just to understand you, want to understand your view, Honorable Ibrahim Semojuganda, about what do you think is the intention of saying we shall release you in July next year and announcing it today?
I think for me, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because you see, retirement of military officers goes with some benefits, retirement benefits. Probably those benefits are not catered for in this budget, and maybe they are going to be catered in the next budget. The only problem is that, you see, retirement in UPDF was supposed to have been sequenced. Because if you say I'm going to retire in Sejusa, Joram Mugume, Jagena Chibirango, and you leave Pecos Kutesa in the military, and you leave the others, because those are individuals, Koreta is also going at the same time. So these individuals were the commanders when Museveni was capturing power here. But the way he's retiring them is also selective. Because what is Tumwine still doing in the army? Tumwine, with his age, former army commander, that can only happen in Uganda. Petraeus, when he was commanding, I think, either Iraq or Afghanistan, immediately you finish that sort of assignment, you have to leave. There is no way you're going to have a former army commander in the military serving. I said at one platform, Pecos Kutesa, Ivan Koreta, when the army was first in Mbuya before they went to Bombo, today the chief of personnel and administration, Leopold Chanda, was his driver. Leopold Chanda is then promoted rapidly. He becomes a chief, and at the moment, Ivan Koreta doesn't have any position. So he must go and salute his driver and then seek work. And Museveni enjoys these things. You get a man like Joram Mugume, who was deputy army commander, I think when Tumwine was army commander. And then you say he heads the land board in the military. Really? How can you have... So these things are done selectively. So the intention, the British put in a lot of money to professionalize UPDF. When Amama Mbabazi was Minister of Defense, a white paper was prepared. That's when they divided UPDF into these forces, land and air and so on. And all these things are in the law as I speak to you today. For example, no military officer should stay at the same rank for more than 10 years. There are those who have been at the same rank all their lives. There was a time when we were joking with Otafire, we thought Kano had become part of his name. Even when he became brigadier and major general, we were still calling him Kano Otafire. But the law says you don't stay on the same rank for 10 years. The law at the same time, I mean, I think the intention of the president was very clear. You were asking the question, why is he now allowing people to leave? I don't think it is the UPDF's promotion and commissioners board that's doing this. The boss is doing it himself. One of the provisions they put in the UPDF Act and deliberated was service offense. The president wanted to hold on to these individuals because at that time, and even today, the UPDF remains his main source of power. So when Besigye went out and said, you see, I have following in the military, it's an area where he will want you. And remember, he warned him, he said, you will be 6 feet under for talking about UPDF. So that territory, that source of power, he wants to monopolize it alone. And that's why he was not allowing these individuals to live at the time they should have left. Today, I think Sejusa is exhausted. So is Ivan Koreta. They are not at the same energy levels they were 10 years ago.
Okay, talking about energy levels, yeah. David will call. I know of a gentleman who had risen up the rank of Major General. In fact, he was also Joint Chief of Staff at one point. In fact, he was at one point Deputy Military Intelligence. In fact, at one point, he served as Mission Commander for African Union in Somalia. I'm talking about Major General Fred Mujisha. My sources tell me he has also asked to retire. And he's been on what they call Katebe. He's not among the people who have been given the green light, shown the green light to go. What do you make of that?
You see, that's why I'm saying that I think the time has come.
And many other of his colleagues, I think Bogere, like you said.
Yeah, Bogere has left now.
He has left finally?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What I'm saying here is that I think it's just a pity that we're discussing this matter without any senior officer of the army or those who are in positions of responsibility within our military to inform citizens. This is an opportunity for them to outline policy as it exists and the systematized, institutionalized systems within the military of how you fall in and how you fall out and which ladders you follow and so forth. Citizens have a right to know as a fundamental right of access to information, because this information is fundamental to it is information which is there collected using taxpayers' money. It is being stored there. So I think they have a right to account to citizens, because now we are bound to ask all kinds of questions, and this is not fair to our military. But because they are setting themselves up, one, you announce something which is not mature. Two, when you announce, it is not comprehensive. Three, it's not clear in terms of steps that any single individual serving in the army can follow if he wants to retire, or if he wants to be allowed to retire either early or when he reaches the age. So what is the policy? In the absence of that, that's why then people have to ask questions. Why this? Why this? Why not this? Why now? Why not yesterday? And so forth. Now, when you come back to the fundamentals, Chief, I served in security. Yes, they wanted me to promote me to the rank of brigadier twice, and I said no, and I opted for a contract. Because otherwise now I would be a subject of court-martial. I would not be a free man to talk free my mind. Well, of course, within bounds. Even when I talk like this, I talk within bounds, knowing that Uganda must be a stable country, must be peaceful, and therefore its security must not be compromised. So, but even then, why are others not being given to enjoy their human right? Because there should be freedom of contract. I come in, you recruit people's children, and when they want to leave, you say, no, you can't. Now, honestly, there should be freedom of contract. And so this is the fundamental rights we are asking that UPDF should respect. It can only respect this and avoid any innuendos, any question marks, if it makes it very clear what its policy is on this matter. Otherwise, to say that you can only leave, like now you've said, some people, I know people who have even applied 4 times, 5 times, and they were said no. And then you ask yourself, what more can I do? So don't you pick the skill and go and teach, go and farm, go and trade, go and, when your energy is still there, and work for your family, you join your family, you join your kith and kin, and really develop when you still have the energy. So
I think for me, David, I think the policy exists. The problem is that it is being abused. I'll give you an example. When Muhoozi Kainerugaba became a major, that rank was given to him by Kano Gaddafi at Kororo. for every rank, the Commissions and Promotions Board of UPDF is supposed to assess you and recommend you for a rank. What they call General Administrative Order GAO is supposed to be prepared, and it remains on file that David Purukoro has been promoted to a rank of Colonel because of the following reasons. In the case of Muhoozi, it is not there. His dad simply said, and I remember one time when he called the High Command in NTV, he told them, because he had wanted Muhoozi now to raise again, he said Gaddafi is complaining that I am sitting on his son. And eventually they had to find a way of promoting. But also the promotion itself, for example, within the same law, you cannot within a space of 2 or 3 years jump from one to another rank. The law doesn't allow, except under very exceptional circumstances, like excelling at war. I remember when they appeared before the Committee on Defense, I was still a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs, and I asked Timbadi, who was Museveni's bodyguard and a colonel, because he became a brigadier and a major general within a very short time. He was deployed in northern Uganda as a commander for the 4th Division, and immediately is brought back as a major general,
a chief of staff,
within one year. So I told him the law doesn't allow, because accelerated promotion under the law is supposed to be under exception. They are supposed to be explained and they are on file. But the way the president continues to micromanage the army is that at a level of senior, these historical ones, you can only leave when you are said you can leave. You remember Tumukunde? Tumukunde wanted to leave, and the court said he can leave because you no longer even pay him a salary. We said he can't go. Eventually, when campaigns came and he wanted to use his services, he said, now you can retire. I am even giving you a rank of a lieutenant general. So the trouble for me, I think, in terms of young people joining the army who have skills, I am particularly happy that you have a lot of young people who have joined the army and they have gone to school. You no longer have illiterates in the army. They don't dominate. But the trouble is that the president does not want the army to go. He still wants to control it from where he is. And that's why you are even discussing it. I mean, otherwise it should have been a very ordinary thing that people join the army, because the world over, the entrance to the military is very wide, but also is the exit. And that's what happened. There will be functions, guns will be fired to say, please, thank you. But today, you can imagine a man like Sejusa, and you are going to be retired by David Muhoozi. Because I remember I went to cover as a journalist the retirement of General Muntu. It was presided over by late Aronda. At least there was a level of comradeship when Aronda is telling Muntu, go, please, even when you go into politics, don't go and speak ill. But now imagine Sejusa being retired by David Muhoozi, and you are the one lecturing Sejusa. You are the one lecturing Jagenda Chibirangu. You are the one lecturing Mugumi. What will you tell them? These fellows are supposed to have left yesterday. By now, we should actually be retiring the courageous, the Mujiras who joined the army, I think, when Museveni was about to capture power. But they have been stuck in traffic for a very long time. No wonder some of them don't even go to Bombo when don't go to Bombo when they are retiring. They just go and pick their papers.
Very quickly, David, before we take a break.
Yeah, I'm saying that this is again talk about retirement. General Salim Saleh retired when he was a major general, and so are some of these people. But then to be promoted again when you are in retirement, it cannot happen in Uganda with UPDF. Yeah. I mean, why, when you're already in retirement, and there are people who have been promoted and made full generals?
Well, in retirement.
I mean, did you retire? Did you stay? This rank you're getting after retirement.
Kano Mujenyi is now, I think, major general.
I mean, what is this? Okay. Let UPDF explain this. Because now, and that goes with the following. One, President Museveni is retired. But then, what is he doing with Madodoa uniform? Because in a military, once you retire, no problem. Once you retire, you're supposed to have only a ceremonial suit. Okay? Now, you are not supposed to retire with all this combat uniform and, so you're misrepresenting the army. So UPDF needs to clean up its image and rise up to the ranks of other militaries in the world. And therefore respect its own law, respect its own procedures, and therefore these ones who are going to retire need to hand over their guns, need to hand over their uniform, need to their quartermaster. And I would want to see most of these people being put in a car as generals and then the military pushes them out of the gate. You don't start the car. You put to free. That's what happens with honors. And I don't want to see them begging tomorrow. I would like the military to plan for their socio-economic upkeep.
All right. David and Ibrahim, we are going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On The Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight are Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, Mr. David Pulkol, and Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, former Yala MP and chairperson of the NRM Women's League. Thank you for joining us, though. I suppose I'm told you had to drive from Mbale today.
Yes, first of
On
all,
the bad
I'm
road.
sorry I've
bad
arrived
roads.
late. I thought I would make it, but I'm coming from Mbale. I was participating in the resettlement consultative meetings for the Bududa victims. So
We're glad you made it. We're glad you made it. Well, we're discussing the retirement of the UPDF generals, about 17 of them who will be going in July next year, because that's the indication. But there are quite a number of other senior ranking officers who have asked for years to leave and have not been given the opportunity to leave. I gave the example because I had sources telling me that one of them include Major General Mujisha Fred. At one time he served in Somalia, which you understand as mission commander. At one time was Joint Chief of Staff. So almost became number 3 in the army, but now he's on what David calls the Katebe. Why can't these people be left to go?
But when I came in, I had some of my colleagues talking about our UPDF operates under creature of the law. They have the UPDF Act and other security forces, and also have policy, but also we have been able to put in place legislative pieces that guide the command. And I don't want to say I'm an expert on security or UPDF as an institution, but I have a fair understanding on how command operates. And first of all, to congratulate these who have been cleared. It's a process, really. It's a process, and the boards meet, but also the back ends with the commander-in-chief. And if you don't have a firm control as a commander-in-chief of one of your machineries that protect your borders and is your customer, then you have no business being a commander-in-chief. And that's why they give it to him. Command is command. And that's what where I stand. But to congratulate the 19 that have been cleared to retire, but also I thought somebody would be able to tell you, because he's been on the Committee of Defense for a while. He has, and this guy has worked in the security agencies.
Let's decorate them.
But you know that people don't retire. I mean, retirement, I think, is a formality in the ranks and file, but these people just retreat to the reserve forces. You never retire.
This is why the others have
when
been
you
getting
join the
ranks even in
forces,
retirement.
you take oath, you train, and that's it. You've given your life to the services. I've been fortunate to work with some military institutions in other African countries, but even beyond. When you join the forces, they don't even bury you when you die. Your family has to give you away. You know this. I don't want to mention countries here. I don't have their permission. But you go to serve, you go. And when you die, there is an official military cemetery. Your family does not even have to know that you died. So I think that we should appreciate Uganda has a unique history. I want to say it's unique because we are different from other, let's say, African countries. We've had a history of independence that began with the military participation right from the 60s. We went to the 70s. We were ruled by some level of ammunition and guns and guys in the uniform. Went through the 80s. So when we reach here and we are here and people are retiring, and that we've been able to remove to the largest extent possible guns and bullets from the streets, and people have gone back to the barracks, largely where it's possible. We have. Uganda is relatively, I can say without any doubt of contradiction, we are a stable country. So I think that we've done well, and I emphasize the issue of a process. Because you may see 32 years and you think that these are very many years, they should have already been retiring. It is difficult. When a country breaks down like we had our history, maybe 32 years ago, talk about 81 or before, it is much easier to put up a 29-story building. It is much easier to elect people to go to parliament, but building the human resource capacity and professionalism in institutions is extremely difficult. We have issues of DDR, as just asking here, there used to be 2 R, now it's 1 R, DDR. There is the issue of disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, and rehabilitation. Our own country, during the 81 or so many years before, we had so many formations, the FOBA, we had so many militias. Militias have to erupt in an area that there is lawlessness. Now reintegrating and forming one force under one commander in chief is not an easy story. So for me, I think that those of us that are looking to Uganda in the future, we are making progress. It has been a painful past for the forces. We are happy to see that people have served and are able to retire. But also I appreciate the issue of the delays. I've been also asking about these delays, because when you go to other countries and you work with the other forces, like I've said, you find that somebody, they have a calendar. You can retire at the rank of colonel. But in some countries, even in Africa, talk about Kenya and others where I have been working, you find that by the time somebody retires at the rank of Kenya, they've done all the training that is required for the forces, and you are able to be taken to deploy. They're mainly being deployed in IT institutions, even for security, because they have that background of security. They have been redeployed. You don't automatically go home to look after, people think that agriculture is for people who are tired, who are retired. No, that's what I keep hearing, that let me go home to look after goats. That's not the right mind frame. But we have a lot of these people, because also the forces require somebody that has a level of energy, strength, and being agile. Leave alone, commanders, of course, don't sit at the back.
That's very true. That's why those who are old were
now
saying, please let us go, and they couldn't let them go.
But there are reasons why they are not leaving now. I even had Honorable Semju and Pulko talk about this. We have issues. People will go, but how do they go? For me, I'm actually concerned. People should go with their packages. If the budgets have not been put in place, if it is cumulative, there's a process. I mean, people have to be given their money, or they have to be given roles. And for Uganda's case, like I have said earlier, this guy is not actually retired. We have in our policy, there's an issue of being in the reserve force. You don't go home and say. I also heard about the issue of combat and uniform. Camera, these are forces. This is a profession. People have ceremonial attire. They don't retire. Even after their death, they'll have their sword, they'll have their berets. It's to them. It's their profession, and they are very proud of it.
David,
so we should give it to them. It's a calling, and I think. When the same Jews and myself finally get there at that level, we are just in the queue. We'll be able to maybe build this army better. But I think where we are now, it is making us proud as a country. I mean, we have our army in the whole of Africa flies the highest flag. We are doing very well in terms of professionalism, in terms of training, in terms of combat operations, in terms of many things, and even initiative and state-of-the-art, thinking. And I think we are doing well, even training. So I think we are. They are not the best paid. Their welfare has issues, but they have done us proud.
All right. David, there are people who are saying that even as General Sejusa retires, some critics suggest that this could be a purge of the Luwero comrades that is underway, and perhaps, like Honorable Semoju is saying, the army now is in the hands of young people, all of them educated, the senior commanders. Do you see that it's the time for the old guard is now gone, so we have the new kids on the block who are taking control?
I think I would like not to take that path of who's being purged, who's not, and whether in terms of those who are in Luero and those who have disagreed and so forth. So I think what should concern citizens is that, and I think we need to appreciate, all of us, that UPDF is the only institution we have of a national army today that we need to protect, we need to keep, we need to improve, we need to professionalize, we need to love, we need to cherish, we need to be proud of, we need to value. You need to attach a premium to this institution. Because then, if we lose UPDF, what else do we have? And that's why we get offended when their uniform is being soiled, okay, by officers and men who are very good fighters, but thieves, stealing fuel, stealing food for soldiers, and you don't see them being dismissed in disgrace. It hurts some of us. Or to see our military on the street, like she says, our military is no longer on the street. I laughed because our military is back on the street. It's now a common feature. How many are in Kampala alone? How many are being recruited now in terms of LDU and so forth? So the military on the street is back, and it's not a good thing, in my view. You can still protect this country by not putting this naked force, making it very visible the way it is now. And you cannot use them to beat civilians, because who are these in Arua? Who are these in Kampala? Who are these on broad daylight doing this? We get offended because then they are actually abusing the uniform that we must all protect and be proud of. So let me come back and say who's being part. What concerns me is that these ones who are leaving, you can look their names. Have they been caught in any corruption scandal? They seem to be good guys who are going out. I hope those who are replacing them, these young ones, these ones who are going out, have you seen them openly partisan in the, it was one thing when NRM was a no-party democracy, and therefore for all of us. But the day NRM became a party, full-blown party, like it is today, I would like to see the military command distance itself from the NRM, the party, and also distance itself from the other political parties, so that the UPDF stands equal distance, because they are there for all of us. Now, these young ones who are coming in, my worry is, are they also as principled like some of these guys who are now retiring, or they are openly partisan? And what does it mean when the military becomes partisan, becomes a militia of a political party? So this should worry citizens. It's not about who was part of Luero who is going out.
But when you have 10 members of parliament representing the army in that parliament,
and
doesn't that indicate they are partisan?
This is the problem.
So why are you even questioning?
Having them in the parliament would not be a problem. But having them sit on the same side with the ruling party is a problem. Why can't Right Honorable Kadaga create a special seat for them like independents, so that we see that our military sits separate from these parties? But to have them attend sometimes even NRM caucus meetings, to have some of them even talk like they are openly partisan thing, and to have a man like Colonel Bogere who decided to abstain, be punished. This concerns me in terms of moving forward into the future. So what should worry citizens is UPDF finally cutting its umbilical cord from NRM, the party, and therefore becoming equal distance, being an institution for all, whether in your opposition or in the ruling party, or where you are even no party. UPDF is there. And that's the kind of UPDF some of us want to see. So therefore, in discussing this retirement, it's a good thing that these ones who have been given the chance to retire should go with honors. Okay,
David, Honorable Ibrahim Samuju, we have seen in the past the armies in Uganda were serving more or less personal interests in the 70s, in the 80s. Is the UPDF any different?
At the moment, no. You see, if you follow the history of the UPDF, immediately they took over power. At that point, some of the commanders believed it was a shared army. The president used to refer to them when he started recruiting other people. He used to call the Uruwero people Salezi Army. So when they made the mistakes, this Salezi Army. I remember when a committee on presidential affairs, at that time chaired by Honorable Salam, went to meet him in Teso during the insurgents. He told them this army had failed, I am going to use mine. And that time he was referring to the Presidential Guard Brigade. It was a brigade that was going to use his to go and fight the war in northern Uganda. So one of the things the president has done systematically is to make sure that he remains the only person with full control and power and over the military. Even those who are running the military themselves, it doesn't allow them. When Katumba Wamala became the CDF, he sent a message and he told him, you can transfer officers below the rank of major, but those ones I must be informed. Beyond the rank of a major, you can't transfer. So you are a commander, but you're also not a commander at the same time. So this army, because you see, in 1996, I think the first time we had elections under Museveni, one of the points he gave a campaign pledge was to professionalize the army. If you want to see whether the army is professional, you look at recruitment, you look at promotion, you look at deployment. I remember we had a very controversial debate in this parliament. I was a journalist when Colonel Tony Ottawa was a major at that time, complained that he was not being promoted. And to me, he said part of the considerations for promotion was the service, the history, the training, things that he claimed Ottawa didn't have. The following day, Tony Ottawa came with the 2 pages of his training in Russia, in where. Being a soldier, he didn't go beyond outlining his training. There was a time when training in itself was a punishment. The president doesn't like you, so he says go to China, go to Nigeria, go to where. So largely the point you made, and that should concern every Uganda. Do people believe that this army is a national army, or it is still a Museveni army? I don't even want to say it is an NRM army. So he's the one who knows who is to recruited, who is to promote, and who eventually, by the way, one of the most interesting things, people who are running the army now are people who have been either commanders of Museveni's guards at the top, from David Muhoozi.
But there's one thing that is consistent and is true, that it appears the Ugandan people, they are proud of the army. They are proud of this public institution than most other public institutions.
Yes, while we are proud.
Yes, and you may not get that pride in other institutions apart from
while we are proud, military. We are also concerned of PGBization of the army, if there is such a word, meaning that you grow through the ranks. When you reach a captain or major, you are taken to command the rest of the army. You are essentially a bodyguard, a presidential guard brigade, and now you are promoted to a colonel, to a lieutenant colonel, to a major, and now in charge. Now, what concerns citizens is that, like you can say, David Muhoozi grew from PGB. So was the later on, so several of them, the Moses Rwakitarate, the Mbadi's, I mean, you just name them. These are just nothing but PGB who have, first of all, been nurtured and trained around the big man, which is a good thing. But when they come to the rest to command the institution of the army, where is their loyalty? So do they shed off? Because when you are a bodyguard, your concern is the safety and security of the officer you've been given to guard. So therefore, when they come now to command the rest of the force, is there within UPDF a lathe machine which retools these people, okay, and makes them that their loyalty now is not to the individual, but to the country first, and second to the army as an institution, and third to the regime. Or when they come there, their concept of security is regime security, and rather than even state security. So which is just a small component of state security, because state security is state pillars like parliament, like judiciary, like the executive, and so state security. Now, and therefore sovereignty. Now, or is it human security? So some of us would like to see these higher officers who have had a service around the big man as his escorts grow and adopt a more broader concept of security, human security, whereby food security becomes national security, whereby income insecurity becomes security, environmental security becomes security, even malaria becomes a security issue, HIV becomes a security. We would like them to adopt, even human rights abuse becomes such a security issue. So we want them to have a broader concept of human security rather than a narrow concept of national security, which is just regime security, not even state security.
How do you
but just a second before she does, she can, because you see, I am a victim of UPDF.
In what sense?
They invaded the parliament where I sit and I was elected to sit. dragged me out of parliament, strangled me, took over parliament. You've seen them on street beating people. I think people will not say they are proud of UPDF because of those excesses. There was time UPDF was extremely professional, stayed away from the politics. The moment they become partisan and engage in politics, beat up people, shoot people, do the things you have been showing on TV, certainly people have every reason to be concerned.
Your response, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto.
Well, I'm not here to just respond to what my colleagues are saying. I was invited to make my contribution on issues of retirement, the broader policy direction of our country in terms of security. What Paul has talked about, issues of food security and environmental security, the 8 issues that can secure our country and the issues of national interest, we just need to give it to the institutions that and their mandate. What does the law say about the institution of the UPDF?
Bullet and metal?
They are supposed to protect our country in terms of our external interests and the borders. But they're also supposed to reinforce other security agencies like the police and where necessary any other agencies if they need reinforcement or by invitation or otherwise. So I didn't want to really come here and begin mentioning names, because sometimes you get clogged into names and then you get worked up by particular individuals. If we look at the general institution of the UPDF, I want to emphasize, and because I'm also Ugandan, I've said that they've done their best. This institution that is growing, it is a process, it is growing, and they've done us proud. I mean, so far, so good. They can do better. And I am not saying...
It's good you say they can do better. It's good you mention those areas where they can do better.
You see, Kamara, when I come here, I listen to people, they also listen to me.
All of us want them to do better.
So you want to talk?
No, you go ahead.
Thank you. So I was saying that, like all of us, I mean, even me, I wish I could do better. We are not perfect. I want to say that they may not be perfect. This is an institution that has over 10,000 officers, men and officers and men. So they could have omissions and commissions. But you cannot now get a one-off issue and say the UPDF is so bad, whatever. I heard people talking about issues of indiscipline, like Paul was saying. The court martial is operational. I'm actually surprised that you can even come and talk about issues of discipline. That's one issue in Uganda that is really following discipline to the letter. They have a court martial, but even before people get the court martial, they have their own structure of discipline and order. And they have not been able to even jump and skip. There are challenges of issues. You can, of course, in a situation like even us, even look at the civil service, look at parliament. You can even look at our own political parties. We never get what we deserve, what we need, but you work so hard. And even in our own parties, where some of us work so hard, we have not been favored. You see issues are slipping off of favor of not, you are trained, you may not get the deployment you want to get or the appointment you want to get, but that does not remove you from the big picture of the institution. So by and large, I think we are on the right track. I think that the UPDF as an institution, give it another 10 or 15 years, they will be doing much better than we can. But Honorable Semuju, on our part, our security institutions, do your part as members of parliament. If you could really support them to get better facilitation. I am particularly concerned about their welfare. Where we are heading, whether we have oil or not, I think you people should visit and work on their welfare issues from the perspective of who appropriate budgets. They have serious welfare issues. Me, I would like to see their hospitals running. I would like to see their children going to better schools in the barracks. I would like to see them having better accommodation, because these guys, men and women, have done us proud as a country, given very minimal resources. You should look at their payroll. You should look at their salaries.
I actually don't agree, because let me tell you, and I've written about this.
Vistas barracks, and they have land. They have a lot of space.
From Mukasa coming to town, I'll find the latest model of Land Cruisers carrying the senior officers going to Mbuya, passing by these units where the junior ones stay. The problem of this military,
don't you agree with?
The problem of this military is not that they don't have resources. Resources are abused. Look at their budget. Look, the other day I was asking.
How can they be in Mama Ingia Pole for 30 years?
For me, that's why we should have collective voice on issues of the welfare of the forces.
Okay.
But they've done given what they are, because this, by the way, when we talk, it's like it is them and us. Some of them are our own blood brothers and sisters. Eh? So when you see Honorable Semju and look at his paycheck and whatever, he's doing a good job as a member of parliament, but look at his equivalent. Now, Semju, by the way, for me, my equivalent could be like a brigadier or a colonel if they follow the right training and the ranks. But for Semju, maybe you could maybe at a lieutenant colonel because you're younger than me in terms of training.
In the military, I would be out at
All
45.
right,
What can you do?
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll be asking.
talking in terms of
Shall
Uganda.
we be able to see this military become subordinate to civilian authority in our generation? We'll be right back.
But they are.
That is
In
theory.
Uganda, they are.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight are Honorable Ibrahim Samuju Nganda, David Pulkol, and Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. Some people actually don't believe that the UPDF as we have it today is under civilian authority, even though the president retired.
I just wanted to finish just 1 second. Obviously, the Ugandan UPDF
Can we see this army, if maybe went into an election, the same generals saluting Besigye or if it were Semogere or anybody else?
Without any doubt, they would salute civilian authority under their command. They would. But I just wanted to in a second, just to make it clear to our listeners.
The General Kahindo Tafire would never salute Semogere if he had won back then.
But you see, people have come from different backgrounds. These guys were never soldiers by training or by calling in the first instance. They just went to fight because of the situation pertaining at that time. And then they came and then they devolved into uniform. And so you cannot pick out an Otafire and you estimate him to be the best example of a trained professional soldier. It's because of the circumstances. I mean, they call it historical. But now we're talking about building an army that aligns itself to ideology and to command. But I just want to talk about the issue of what Semju was saying, and actually Prokol was emphasizing the fact that people can leave SFC and join other units. The UPDF has structures, and we all know them. There is the land forces, we have Air Force, we have Marine, we have specialized units like the engineering, like the medical, and then the VVIP actually, which you talk about in terms of the SFC and the medical. But if training, if exposing people transfers, I think it's the best thing that you can do to somebody under a bigger framework of an institution. Because they have to go and learn how Air Force operates, and they cross to administration, they go and do command. They have to do these things because that's the institution. So if you say that they should never cross because they were serving, and by the way, all
they should not.
You say that because they've been serving in the presidency, they should not.
No,
they move with
you got me wrong there.
Okay, now let me say it.
Yeah.
Training
you said,
is okay.
Make your own point.
No, I'm correcting you because you are giving an impression that when an officer has served in the PGB, whatever, SFC now,
enough to know that that's not
they are not good enough, or they do not orient themselves when they are transferred to other units. And you've been even mentioning names there, and I'm saying no. This is an institution that works and transfers people.
Okay, let me involve Ugandans who are watching this program tonight so that they tell us what they think about this retirement of these 19 or 17 military officers. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
You're speaking to Collins. I'm calling from Barara.
Calling Barara, you're on air, sir.
I would like to inform Paul.
Yes.
That he was part and parcel, and he knows the system of UPDF, how it operates. He talks as a frustrated, like any other frustrated person who is out of
shame.
The UPDF, what they're doing right now, actually it is the most systematic process we have had in Uganda of retiring the old cadres to get out of the way for the young sons to take over the mantle and leadership of the UPDF. I don't think Pukol or Semju really would want to see a Tinyefuza of 75
Has he read the law?
still in leadership of the UPDF. I think what they are doing right now is a very good exercise, and everyone should look up to it and appreciate.
Okay. Thank you very much, Collins, calling in there from Mumbarara. And David Prukol, I'm sure he's going to respond to you. Yeah. Let me also try to take one or two more callers so that my panelists can respond at once. I have a call online. Hello. Okay, looks like I've missed that one. We'll try to get another. But meanwhile, maybe you could do, yes.
I think citizens should know, including Collins and my dear sister Lydia, that I started by saying we welcome this move. Better late than never. But this move is very important. But I'm saying let it be structured, let it be systematized, let it be predictable, let it be professionalized, so that regardless of who, okay, from now on, so that the military needs to explain itself and put a system in place and respect it. That's all I'm saying. This is a good thing. The second thing I'm saying is that there are areas where we are very proud of our country, we're very proud of our military, we're very proud of our officers, we're very proud of our uniform, but it's our right to mention those areas where we are concerned, where we want the leadership of our military to improve. It doesn't mean to say we are not happy with its performance, but it's our right to point out those areas where they are weak, which they need to improve on. Now, about PGBization of the army, it's a pattern, it's a trend we are seeing. It's not me creating it, it's there. But I'm saying that, please, those officers, when you move from being a personal bodyguard to now those positions of command, please make sure that you adopt a broader view of our national security. I was recommending that they take a more broader view of human security and not get stuck within the narrow-minded regime security paradigm.
And that is your suspicion that they are stuck there?
Not quite, but it's the action to show for themselves. For example, look at this officer who has just been moved from the military police to work with the Inspector General of Police. In my view, I think he has come in there with a lot of discipline. Other people would have expected him to grow horns and be unruly and not respect the Inspector General. I think he's performing very well. Even David Muhoozi in that command, I have a lot of respect. Most of these guys who have gone up there, you don't hear a thing. So they have come there with discipline. That's what I'm saying. Our military should have a lathe machine which puts these people in the retool them to play a more strategic, a better role where they are. They're doing a fantastic job. You don't hear, but then they get soiled up by wrong elements. So me, I'm saying, while you're providing for retirement, please also provide for dismissal in disgrace.
Let me also
like
get,
those
let me also
thieves
get
who
some one or two more Ugandans.
People in the battlefield.
I have a call online.
Dismissed with disgrace.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Paul from Bale.
Paul Nimbali on air, sir.
I wanted, with due respect, to contribute the topic.
Okay.
And to request Mr. Prukol not to go on the air. And tell Ugandans that the military leadership of UPDF is all from SFC. If he can help us and tell us when General Muhoozi was in SFC, in which year. And we also know that General Mbadi, who is his deputy, only went to SFC as an agency to the president, and later on came back to land forces, where, I mean, the general service where I had been before. We also know that General Musanyifu, who is the Joint Chief of Staff, had never been to SFC and has not served there, and so all the service commanders of UPDF. So it is not right for Mr. Prukol to go on air and lie to Ugandans that the leadership of UPDF came from SFC. It is not right. He needs to correct that. Thank you very much.
The PGDization of okay, maybe let me.
No. Even that point, we can't leave it just hanging.
Okay.
Chanda Leopold was the command of PGP. He's now a chief. So is Kavuma, who now commands the division, was in PGP. So is Zimbabwe and several others.
Even the later on, even this David Mosey, when he was a major, he was in PPU.
Yeah, but you see, but for me, the point.
Let's not mention names.
Let me tell you two things.
Of course, he might be contributing from a point of lack of knowledge. But it's not my job to mention names here. But the trend, the issue,
let me tell
pattern.
you, the president called the High Command one time in NTV, and he spoke about establishment of a Special Forces Command. I remember one of the former chief of staff warned him against the dangers of creating an elite force within the UPDF. Like you see the Republican Guards in Iran, Republican Guard in Iraq, and other countries, the Gaddafi Special Forces. He says it will be a problem because you will be creating two armies. The president himself has spoken about two armies, the Saleh army and his army. He told a parliamentary committee on presidential and foreign affairs that this army has failed, I am going to deploy mine. So the trouble is not just necessarily elevating people from presidential guard command to come and preside over the army, but the creation of two armies within one, that he has an elite force like you see in Iran, like you see in Iraq. And that was a matter that those who had presided over the professionalization of the army, the ones who were running the white paper, warned him against in a meeting, and he said they had reasons. So today, when you begin promoting people from an elite army to go to the regular, it will create a problem. Everybody, including those they have gone to preside over, ask themselves, but Mbada said maybe it is the president saying. They will not see it that way, and that is the problem. People can deny.
Okay, this is what we're going to do now because our time is out.
Why are you speculating?
Okay.
I am not speculating.
You have to give the issues of command and control to the commander-in-chief, and he has not failed.
No, these issues are statutory. They are in the law.
Ibrahim,
this is not a private company.
That is your concluding remark. Lady, you go next as we conclude.
I'm just surprised. I mean, some is a member of parliament, and he has his mandate there. But for the presidency and the issues of the army, this is command and control.
We are looking at the law. This is not a private company. The president is supposed to follow the law.
In the law has he gone wrong?
Appointing his guards.
How?
First of all, the creation of SFC itself is an illegal outfit. If you read Ugandan Constitution, ask Chiyonga when he came to Parliament. So, because Parliament is supposed to
appropriate a creature without money?
Don't you appropriate money for operation welfare creation?
Give them money. So
Lydia, is that your parting shot?
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've done well. UPDF has done well. And
David,
my parting shot is this, that it's not a problem being an escort of the president and rising up in ranks and going for training and so forth and taking command of the whole army. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing also, because they have their right to grow up within the institution. But I'm saying, please, when you go to those positions, be mindful that you are now dealing with national security, and therefore your loyalty and allegiance is to the country, to the army, and then to the individual last. But please don't go there and do the political bidding, including partisan bidding for that individual. Be there and keep equal distance from the opposition, equal distance from the ruling party. That's the point I'm making. Thirdly, and I'm saying finally, that creating an army within an army, you know, UPDF is built on chieftaincies. The law itself, the act, chieftains of military intelligence, chief of personnel administration, chief of logistics and engineering, chief of this, chief. But then, is SFC a chieftaincy? This is the point my brother is making. That, you know...
in fact, David, they said it's now at a level of a service.
Is it provided for...
It's at a level of a service.
In the UPDF? Why not amend the act and therefore create another service within UPDF? But the law as it exists now, it is headed by chiefs.
David.
But then, and yet SFC is not headed by chief.
That's
actually served.
administrative.
Okay. Thank
to
you
protect
very
the
much.
president.
It
It
is
is
David,
to
Lady, and
to
Ibrahim,
protect
thank you
the
very much.
presidency.
And that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of On the Spot. It's very clear from my view that the UPDF has done us proud for keeping us, our borders for the last 32 years, but also some of us who have been embedded with the UPDF in different parts, in the Central Africa, in Congo, in South Sudan and Somalia. They have done proud. The men and women in uniform for Uganda have done a commendable job. They could do better, like some people have said, but at least we know they have kept us together and peaceful. Many other things perhaps they will accomplish. We just have to wish them good, because if we don't, probably that could take us to a different level that may not want to go to. Good night and God bless Uganda.